Ooh.
made by, and you'll love this, the company Arc System Works, the developer
Yes.
behind Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yes.
Yeah,
That is good. Holy shit. Okay.
that's nice. That's
Very
really fun.
nice. So we're actually live, Alex. I figured it out. We're live. Let me send you the link so you can see it.
We're not live, right? We're just recording.
We're live.
So you can watch us right now?
Yeah, anybody can watch us now.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so let me.
We put away the petroleum jelly. No, just kidding.
We're not.
Well, I gotta say,
It's not that kind, but you know.
since we're live, I probably should have said this earlier, but I know there's a lot we can talk about today. I actually kind of wanted to go into a little bit more. And we talk about this a little bit each episode, I think,
Uh
but
huh.
I want to start with a story.
Yeah.
And this story might actually cost me $25,000 to actually put out there, like to say it live.
Ooh.
But I think it needs to be said. I got a call today from a person that Peter, who is one of our clients that we've been helping with Bitcoin for years and years and
Yeah.
years. Remember Peter?
Yeah, I do.
So
I
he,
do.
he called me today, and he just called me because he went to this meetup in Blanco,
Yeah.
about a month. I was invited to this meetup by Drew Taylor, who runs the Wild West Crypto Show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of funny because I didn't go because I got invited by somebody who owes me $25,000.
Ooh.
And I was like, in my head, I was like, go fuck yourself. How dare you invite me to anything when you have a broken contract with me and you basically scammed the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm poor truly because of this individual right now.
Shit.
Here's the funny part about it. Peter wanted to call me to warn me because when he went to this meetup, he actually recognized Drew, but he couldn't place it at the time. Turns out, he goes, so this guy Drew, he used to go by Andrew, of course, right?
Mm.
And I guess years ago, he actually scammed Peter out of 15
No.
grand.
15 grand?
Yeah. Now, so Peter told me this
Whoa.
long-drawn story. Long story short, Peter did take him to court. Peter got his car. Peter got Drew's car. What's that called? Where they like take your car?
Repossessed, yeah.
Repossessed.
Yeah.
And so the only way that Drew could get his vehicle back was
Jeez.
to pay Peter. So Drew paid Peter. And it's been funny as shit because to me, I've been saying this for weeks. I'm like, you know what? At a time like this, like as much as I hate that he's probably gonna have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. I'm like, and here's Peter. I'm just joking.
Jeez.
Actually calling me. So I guess this guy's been like borrowing money from people for a really, really long time, keeping in mind that Drew is easily in his late 50s, if not early 60s.
Jeez.
Probably late 50s. But no, so it's been a really
Wow.
tough day for me because I got to say, like, there was still a bit of hope for me that this individual, he's 5 months late, but
Yeah.
I still hoped. And now I'm like, wow, so this guy's just been doing this his whole life. So what I really kind of wanted to talk today about, with you specifically, Andy,
Yeah.
is how do we put bad people away? I don't care if I get my money. I care that this individual is locked up and does not have the freedom to steal from people anymore when obviously he's been doing it for a really, really long time. When you have all these individuals, all these scammers in this ecosystem, this cryptocurrency space, Peter also said, he was like, I'm just so glad that I met you. There's so few people that you can trust in this space. And you're like at the top of my list. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's why I do this, is because there are so many shit fucks, pardon the language, in this world, let alone our ecosystem of cryptocurrency, that it's hard to trust anybody. And so what really bothers me is I want to be able to trust people again. I want to be able to trust companies again. I want to be able to trust platforms. But it's really hard to trust anything when no one seems to be getting in trouble for anything. And like I could go deep into some really dark stuff, like not to this is a cryptocurrency talk, but the simple fact is, there's been a lot of things that have happened in the Austin area over the last week where there's these photographers who have been molesting and really, really hurting women, models. And yet, like I asked the question, okay, so now everybody knows that he is a horrible person. Is he in jail? And the answer is unanimously always no. No, this person is free as a bird, able to do whatever the hell he wants. And so I'm starting to believe that our government is really a lot worse off than I actually thought it was. Our public is a lot worse off than I thought it was. I started looking into our government and like, what have they actually done in the last 2 years. And this isn't an anti-Trump thing. This is just an anti-government thing.
Hmm.
And the only thing I can really see that they've done anything over the last 2 years is they have a record amount of what do you call it? Deportations.
Oh
So
yeah.
they've been getting a lot of illegal aliens outside of America. But I got to tell you, Andy, I have never been scammed by an alien. I no, I haven't. I
It
haven't.
just sounds funny, an alien. Yeah.
I do know a lot of illegal aliens, and they are actually some of the nicest people that I've ever met. But that's not the point. The point is, Andy, as somebody who has spent the last 4 years studying law, why is it seem impossible for a good person to put a bad person away? Or not even a good person. It shouldn't even be on us. It should be up to the court system that we pay for to put these bad people away. And I guess the answer or the question is, what do I have to do to actually change the world just a little bit? For this one instance, how do I either A, get my money back, which I don't care about anymore? I'd much rather pay $25,000 to put this guy in jail. How do I get somebody that has hurt me in jail? Or is it just really that? Is it not illegal to scam people, to borrow money and not pay it back? Is that not illegal? Because it should be if it's not. But I guess let's start there. Is it illegal to borrow money from someone and not pay it back?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So you do have what's called, I mean, you can have a civil trial. So you could take him to court the same way Pete did, and you can have him pay his money back. And if he doesn't have said money, then the court will find something of value that he owns and
Mhm.
repossess it or sell it, and then you'll get your money back. And that's really the best options that you have. I mean, the trouble with jailing somebody that frauded somebody, but that's the thing, right? If you can prove that there was actual fraud, I would have to go and see, like, look at the Texas Penal Code and see if there's actually a law that says, hey, if you don't pay back your debt to somebody, a business partner or a friend, do you go to jail? I don't think that that's on the books. It might be. I could be wrong. I'll check, but I know that the best option that you have is to take them to court yourself. And so that's a civil lawsuit. That's not necessarily a state or a criminal suit. Part of me thinks it's better that way. I know it's extremely. What's the best way to put this?
Disheartening?
Yeah, disheartening. It puts the entire system in a bad light when it seems like bad people can get away with stuff. But the truth is, they shouldn't be able to, as long as you have enough information on them to go to court and file a legitimate lawsuit. And then once they're served, I mean, they're under, and they're assuming they're under the court's jurisdiction, like assuming this guy's from Texas and
Which he is.
right, which he is. He has enough contacts in Texas and enough assets and stuff like that. The court will just take him and say, hey, I mean, you owe this guy this money. It's proven here. Like, here's the agreement. Here's the amount you said you'd pay him. You didn't. All right, pay up. He's like, okay, I'll pay up. And the court will pretty much hound him for you until he pays up. And if he's not paying up, then you'll have to do what Pete did and find an asset that he owns and essentially sell it for him so you can get your money back. So it's not the prettiest, it's not the most streamlined process, but no, it's not as simple as that. And I mean, every other instance that you brought up, like people that were harming women, like these photographers that were taking advantage of their position. I mean, they're already putting somebody in a vulnerable position, and then they're harassing them, hurting them, in all the messed up ways that they do. I mean, that's a crime. That alone is
Well,
a
that's the other
crime.
thing. I found this guy that's been since the year 2006. He has Asperger's, and I guess for the past 13 years, he's literally been harassing women every single. I can't say every single day, but every single month after month after month, you can actually look this guy up and see years of complaints. You go to any modeling page, any photographer page, or you can just Google his name, and it's pretty damning. And so, we started to look into it, and it turns out that he has been to court like a dozen times in the last 13 years for the
Mm-hmm.
exact same thing. But they always say at the end that until he actually attacks or hurts a woman and says what he's saying, because I guess it's not illegal to just threaten. It doesn't seem like it's illegal to harass because this guy gets away with it specifically because he says he's disabled. And because he's disabled or mentally handicapped or however you want to say it, he seems to be able to just get away with harassing women for 13 years. And so
Yikes.
these things are starting to pile up in my life. And the reason I wanted to bring this up
Yeah.
specifically is In the past 6 years of being in cryptocurrency, I've heard a lot of horror stories, but funny enough, the horror story I've actually heard the most, well, maybe second. The first one is this exchange got hacked, and we all know how to avoid that. Don't keep your money on an exchange.
Right.
But the number one, issue that I hear is person A trusted person B screwed over person A. And, there's only so much you can do. You can attack them online. You can put out warnings to your friends. You can, mass email everyone that you know. There's a lot of ways to, quote unquote, attack the individual, but that's not really what you want to do. You just want to be whole.
Right.
You want to be right. And more than anything, I think there is like a piece of justice that you do want served.
Right.
So it's, you wish you'd get your money back, and you wish this person would be held responsible. And the reason I bring this up today is because it's just, month after month after month after month, I keep hearing this story. And it makes me wonder if really that's the truth of the matter is the law protects bad people. Because that's really what it starts to seem like the more you start to dig. You look into the past and you see these bad people continuously doing the exact same thing. And maybe they do go to jail for a year. Maybe they go to jail for 2. And then they get out and they do the exact same thing. So anyway, I don't want to spend the entire hour discussing law and how people get hurt. It's just in my brain, it's been a really depressing past 2 months because, well, I got stolen from by somebody I thought I could trust.
Yeah.
A business of mine got taken by someone I thought I could trust. And here I am trying to do my due diligence, my best, give my all to the world and be a good a light, a shining light. And it just seems like shining lights get taken advantage of so often that eventually they start to dim and they just walk away. And that's what's been slowly happening to me is, like as much good as I have done, I don't get any money for that and I don't ask any money for that. But what trips me out is when bad people do bad things and they get away with it. And there's proof that they did that bad thing and yet they still get away with it. And, there's so many fallacies. You can say, well, the court system takes too long, or person A maybe didn't have enough money to hire a lawyer, right? So they're just shit out of luck. And it's really funny to me that a lawyer will be given to you if you're a bad person and you can't afford one. But if you're a good person that has been hurt by a bad person, shit out of luck. They won't afford you one. You have to purchase your own lawyer.
This is true.
So it's very backwards. I don't understand why our government seems to be protecting bad people and actually, what do you want to call it? I call it hamstringing. They're hamstringing good people. Because if you get stolen from, now you don't have money to hire a lawyer. So the bad person won, right? So it's mind-boggling, and I can't seem to wrap my head around the law. And it really makes a good person start to wonder, should I be bad? Because it seems like bad people get away with fucking everything.
If you have enough money, Alex, you really can get away with anything. Have you seen that? Have you seen that new documentary that came out recently about Michael Jackson?
Yes, actually, yes, I watched 4 hours of.
Oh my God!
After Neverland, that just. I gotta say, man, like I can't listen to Michael Jackson anymore.
It's
I really can't.
tough, man.
I hear it, I'm just like, nope. Can't support that at all.
It's really tough. I agree.
That's right. And I believe them. I believe those victims, regardless of that's the thing of it.
Yeah, most people do.
A lot of people don't. Now, It's fair to not care. I will admit that. Like music and the actions of a musician are separated. A lot of people seem to be pushing those two things together, and they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
It just makes me unhappy because I can't listen to his music the way that I used to, right?
I know.
And I'm like, oh man, I know what you did.
It really sucks. So the two things you brought up, and it really is true. If you are deemed a criminal, like if they press charges against you, or the state does, or the city does, and you're found, they want to take you to court. You have some charges pressed against you. You do get an attorney. But the truth is pretty sad because there's a lot of things that you could get dinged for where you didn't really do anything wrong, but for whatever reason you get charges pressed against you. And then if you can't afford an attorney, you get one. But the quality of service by the attorney is abysmal. It's horrible. Like the attorney has no time to serve you. Like no time.
I've watched documentaries about how public defenders have to do like 30 cases in a day.
You can't do that. It's impossible.
They have like 15 minutes per case, and you can't do anything. You learn about the case in 15 minutes.
You barely get a summary down, and you're like, okay, well, I can't help you because I don't know. I don't have enough facts to help you. So I mean, it's true that the court tries to help people that are taken to court, but and it's like we were saying earlier. Like if you have the money, then you can buy amazing attorneys, and then you get out scot free or relatively scot free for doing horrible stuff.
Or
Um,
what's the other thing where you get held guilty, but then you can come back and try again and try again and try again. As long as you have money,
Or
you can keep
you can keep appealing. Yeah, you can keep appealing a
appealing.
case. Yeah, yeah,
That's the word
you
I
can
was
keep
looking for.
appealing a case if you lose it. Keep appealing, and try to postpone whatever sentence against you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, with money comes great power, obviously. And just to speak a little bit to your point about, you know, we try to do as much good as we can in this world, and there's some people that'll take advantage of that. I think that the position that you've been on recently, like the positions that you've been in recently, have given you a lot of. You've learned a lot. You've gained a lot. And I think when people see that you're a competent individual, you have a lot to offer, they will try to take advantage of you to get a little bit of that. And I guess if the easiest way to say this is kind of as you start stepping up on these, you have these stepping stones of life, you get higher and higher up on the totem pole, you impress yourself, and you're proud of what you've done and what you've achieved. You're gonna come across different challenges. So now the kind of challenges that you're going to be up against, Alex, are where you've accomplished some stuff. There's going to be some people that see you as a high caliber individual, and they're going to want to exploit that. That's your next challenge. Like you have to have, it's almost intuition at this point. You have to develop that keen sense of, okay, what does this person really want? What do they want from me? And you don't have to be cynical and say, okay, people just want to use me and that's all they want. If it doesn't seem like they have anything to offer you back, you have to cut them off. You have to cut them loose and say, all right, buddy, I'll have time for you later, but not now. And you leave it at that. But there is going to be a lot of that. And the more success you find in life, the more you're going to have these challenges where, people are seemingly your best friend, or they're seemingly super close and they're super eager to help you. I mean, go ahead and take it, and do tit for tat stuff, help them out yourself, and if they seem to be helping you out as well, great. But always hold everybody at arm's length. I mean, even me. I mean, if I out of the blue ask you, hey Alex, I need 20 grand, be like, I can give you $1, and then if you pay me that back, and I would
It
not
makes me
be.
sad because a year ago I would have, no questions asked.
No,
I always loaned money, but this is
no,
I guess it had to happen
yeah,
eventually. But
yeah,
yeah, no, it burns people because now it's not, even if someone that I wholeheartedly trust, asked me for 20 grand, not only would I not be able to afford it anymore, of course, but more importantly, it's just bad business.
yeah. It is.
Even with a contract, even with written notes, even
Yeah.
with text messages that prove the fact, I still feel like it's extremely dangerous.
Now
And that's
how about this? Now what about what Bitcoin has unlocked? What about if I gave you $20,000 worth of Bitcoin as collateral and said, "Okay, Alex, here's 20,000 worth of Bitcoin. I need cash, but I also don't want to lose the Bitcoin, so I'll have you hold the Bitcoin, and if I pay you back the 20K in installments of say 1,000 a month or whatever with interest, then I can get my 20,000 in Bitcoin back. And if I don't pay you back, well, you've got easy recourse to say, all right, Andy, I'll just keep the Bitcoin. Sorry, and it's a done deal. So that that is what.
in a short
Yeah,
answer, I don't see anything wrong with
yeah,
that. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. I would do
yeah.
that if I could loan somebody $20,000 cash because they needed cash,
Right,
and I got $20,000 worth of Bitcoin at that time.
right.
Regardless of whether Bitcoin went up or down over the course of time till he paid me back or didn't pay me
Yeah,
back, I'd still be okay with it because it would be my Bitcoin. And yeah, I mean, you're not
right,
lost. It's
right.
not a whole lot.
That's
You're
what.
just
So that exchange, or that interaction, is what a lot of professional institutions do. Like bigger companies, like between businesses, they'll say, okay, well, give me something in collateral that I can hold, and if you don't pay me back for whatever reason, I mean, usually it's not malicious. Like usually, it's not because the company didn't want to pay back. They just, for whatever reason, business didn't pan out and they had to take the loss. Well, then the collateral at least serves as a way to pay them back. And if everything were paid back, then the collateral goes back to the person. Everyone's whole. Everyone's happy.
This reminds me actually, I think I shared this with you like 3 years ago. Do you remember a company called BTC Jam?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so about what, maybe 3, 4 years ago, yeah, there was different people asking for a certain amount of Bitcoin, and they had a payment plan, and then it would validate all of their information throughout the internet, their Facebook page, their Twitter, their ID, their like everything and everything, and it would give them a grade, right? So you might be like a 97%,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously that's better than a 60, but the 97 might have a much lower APR than say the 60. So the 60 you could get 30%, the 99 you might get 0.5% back, right?
Right.
So you could be risky, but you could also be kind of safe. Here's the sad part. It really didn't take too much to make yourself in the high B's. You didn't have to give too much information. So,
Right.
I remember putting one Bitcoin in there, and I think I got like point 0.4 something back,
Ooh.
because that's how many people didn't pay it back.
Jeez.
Now, if you go to to Google BTC Jam, I truly don't know if it's around anymore. But what you will see
Yeah.
is lots and lots of people going very very angrily. How do I get my money back from that individual that didn't pay
Ooh.
it?
Yeah.
And so the answer is, BTC Jam can't be held responsible for it. No one really can, other than the individual. But sadly, because it's a global currency, the guy in blank and blank country, well, good luck finding him, right? Because here we are in America, and you don't have his number, you don't have his email, you don't have anything on him. Years pass, and time goes on, and then you remember all of a sudden 4 years later, and you're like, oh yeah, I lost zero point 0.6 Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
that's all you can really do about it. So I like how constantly we're evolving and trying to find ways to loan money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I gotta say, man, like having been burnt this big this time, um, I don't really agree with loaning money. And I say that for this. I remember when Bitcoin first came to my attention, I fell in love with it for a lot of reasons. But a big one was, and I'm a hypocrite. I'll say that first. I have a house that I have not paid off. And I would not have this house if it was not for, obviously, a loan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a hypocrite. However, I don't like loaning money. And it's not for me. I don't like that there are banks to loan money. I believe that you shouldn't be able to afford anything unless you can afford it. And as much as, and we've talked about
Yeah.
this in previous conversations, probably in a previous podcast, where we
Yeah.
would not be as far as we are technologically, globally, maybe even morally, ethically, and psychologically if we had not started the ability to loan money. However, at the same time, I would argue that there would be less people starving, period.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'll argue.
It,
But
it
that is a big one.
So that okay, so that concept, okay, so the concept of lending, the concept of borrowing, all that fun stuff, so the reason why it's kind of become so perverted today is because there are people that are asking for loans that have no reason getting loans. They have never proven to even pay back $100, let alone 10,000, let alone 100,000.
The ninja
So
loan.
right, ninja loans, right, exactly. So that's what got us into the 2008 problem. But it wasn't even that. It wasn't so much that people were asking for loans, because there's nothing wrong with asking. But the fact that banks were willingly giving away loans to people who had no business being lent any money because there was no way that they'd ever pay it back. That's what was insane. But you know what's even more insane is that the bankers themselves made money every time that they signed off on one of those loans. Why? Because that money was never the bank's. It was funny. It was play money. It was monopoly money. It was just digital numbers. And the bank said, you know what, whatever. We'll be completely, what's the right way to put it? The banks had none of the actual money that they were lending. They actually had. So they were betting essentially that the money would be paid back, because if it wasn't, they would be over leveraged. Like they would be naked. They'd have no money to pay back to whoever the holder of the money was supposed to be of last resort. It was a shit show. I mean, put simply,
Basically, the 2008 housing crisis.
it was a shit show, and it's happening again. It's happening with the cars in the car industry, again with the housing industry. Maybe the loans aren't being given as well in the car. The same thing that was happening with the houses, I think it's happening again with cars. And I think the car industry right now is doing really bad. There's like millions of cars on all these lots that are not being sold because no one can afford it, and
Yeah.
it's insanity. I mean, I could talk about this forever. Where were we? Oh yeah, oh yeah, loans. So yeah, I mean, it's not so much that loans exist. It's just that we've gotten away from true money. So we've gotten away from good money. Gold was the last good money we had, and now Bitcoin. Obviously, this is a Bitcoin weekly podcast. So yeah, Bitcoin I think is the better money, and this is why. I don't know, Alex. It's really funny, but I looked into it. BTC Jam actually closed last year.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
what I
It didn't
what I
work.
think what I think is that it was just doing business backwards. So like what you and I talked about, where people put their BTC in and then get money back or like dollars loaned. That's what should have happened. I bet you. I'm pretty certain BTC Jam would be kicking, if not, would be a big name, a big household name, if they had just operated that way. So
Well,
yeah.
this not whenever we talk about something on this podcast, it's we're not giving it our seal of approval. So I say that to say this. No, there is a company that I have been following for at least a year now, and I actually am using it on my phone. It's called Celsius,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually pretty cool. Depending on what coin you insert into your Celsius account, you actually earn a percent yearly. So, for instance, when I did it, I believe it was all the stable coins. So they did DAI, as well as TUSD, GUSD. And so if you put $100 worth of GUSD into your Celsius account, you could actually return 7% or 7.1% was what it was at the end of the year, right? So you'd have 107 point, 10 cents. And that's awesome. But the reason I bring it up is because they also do give loans. So if you are an individual that inserts like $10,000 worth of a cryptocurrency into Celsius to earn that interest over time, you can actually take out a loan in cash based on the amount that you have put in. You can take out all of it, some of it. And so it's funny that it took a couple years to get to this point, but you can actually see how the infrastructure has gotten better. Things have been tried,
Yep.
failed, tried, failed, tried, failed, and now we have discussed how it could have worked, but now that's exactly how it's working. So it's kind of funny that it took 10 years, but now
Yeah.
no, that's what I always say when Bitcoin is getting safer and safer and safer and safer. There are companies, individuals, CEOs that have fallen for those scams before and have created things based on that need. So yeah, check out Celsius. Again, they're not paying us anything, and I cannot confirm or deny if it'll be there in 5 years. But it's definitely something that if it had been in my view 4 years ago, I'd probably still have that point 0.6 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that's why.
And you brought up something important too. I think this is another one of those lessons that I think it sucks to say this, like coming out of my mouth, Alex, but there's a lot of lessons that I have learned vicariously through you.
Oh
You
yeah.
you have been you have been a teacher for so like you've just been a teacher for so many things. Like I mean, I know it's been really shitty the things that have happened to you, but they have been very instrumental to teaching me like what when I should be asking questions, when I should be doubting, and the answer is always.
There's
The
something
answer.
special about there is something special about being a guinea pig. I will say I am not as trusting as I used to be.
Yeah,
I say no a lot more than I used
that's
to.
good.
Um, but that is because of guinea pigging myself so much that I have been, in trouble several times. No, that not in trouble. I've been hurt,
Yeah,
scammed several
yeah,
times. But damn it, I always try and remember at the end of the day that it's just money. And a lot of times I think to myself, money is a form of exchange. And I gladly would have exchanged some money to learn what I consider a very valuable lesson.
yeah,
So, sometimes it sucks when you lose $25,000 to learn one lesson. It's a lot easier if you just lose a
yeah,
hundred to learn the same
yeah.
lesson.
Exactly.
But no, no, no. I didn't want to take the whole hour to do this. I actually brought this up at the beginning because one, I am angry about it.
Yeah,
Two, it's not to trivialize or to attack that individual. It's to continue to inspire and make people aware that no matter how much you trust an individual, you must do your due
yep,
diligence. It is just something that I beg of every listener. Don't trust people because you hear it on the radio. Don't trust people because you hear it on the TV. And don't trust people because you know where somebody lives.
yeah.
That's not good enough.
Nope.
You need to protect yourself with contracts. You need to protect yourself. Make sure you have text messages. Make sure that if you're going to ever loan anybody anything, you have, crossed out every single T to make sure that if you do have to take this person to court, there is no there is 100% guarantee, unless something, absolutely ridiculous happens, that you will win. Because there is nothing worse than being on the losing end of a loan and having no recourse. It's just a sad day. You basically just slump down for a couple weeks and take that depression pill, and wait to come out of it. So
Yeah, basically
yeah.
yes.
And the other part that I brought this up was because I wanted to look at this Binance hack from a different way.
Yeah.
Anybody can Google Binance hack, and you'll see the news that has occurred over the past couple
Yep.
weeks. And you'll see a couple of ideas as how to fix said hack.
Yep.
I think the biggest one was the founder of Tron offered inequality 7,000 BTC worth of, was it Tether? It was a stable coin, and he said on Twitter, "I will deposit 7,000 BTC worth of tokens into Binance, so that Binance is good."
Yeah.
Period. Quite simple. Now, the reason I bring it up is starting with loans is how, and again, you have a legal mind, right? How does that really look to somebody in the general population, the general public? In a weird way, I would say in about 10 years from now, when we have a lot more regulation, I could definitely see that that's something that might be a little hard to do, right? Because borrowing or loaning some company 7,000 Bitcoin worth of funds,
Yeah.
that doesn't just come from happiness and love. There's always something on the other
Yeah,
side.
there's a reason.
So
There's a
does this mean
reason.
that Tron is now going to, basically be partner of partners with Binance? Does this mean that Binance now is owned in some way by Tron? Does Jimmy, I forget, founder of Tron, able to be a board member of Binance?
Possibly.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't know yet, but I just can't imagine that somebody can give you 7,000 Bitcoin and not take anything in return. So we talk about monopolies, we talk about all these things, and it worries me in a way, not because I don't want Binance to be whole and be able to continue running, because I wonder what the background really has in store when things of this magnitude happen, because this is not some small thing. We can track and we can Google and we can see how many exchanges have fallen by the wayside over the past 10 years because of one hack, sometimes two. It can destroy a company very quickly.
Oh yeah.
So you have the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange all of a sudden hacked, and within less than a week, you have all these people coming to their aid. But I don't assume that it's for the best reasons.
Well,
I
it's
assume it's long-term play.
So if you watch, if you pull up I did send you the link to the stream on YouTube through your Skype chat. You can see what I'm sharing. I'm sharing my screen now. I'm showing the website with the senator, the representative. What is this? Representative Brad Sherman of California District 30. So he's a member of Congress, and I'm showing here the top 20 industries who contribute to his campaign. So if anyone is ever giving you money just because, there's always a reason. There's always something that they're expecting in return. So yeah, like you hit the nail on the head when you brought up this Tron guy. He was probably seeking some sort of seat at the table with all meaningful decisions by Binance.
Sorry, I clicked the link and you started talking on the other video.
Awesome. Yeah, just mute it. Just hit mute, but now you can see what I'm sharing on the screen. That's what I did too. I had to mute us on the link. But now there's 2 people watching it. Look at that. We grew by 200%. That's excellent.
No, but I always, I said it earlier today when we were chatting. I was like, who the fuck is this guy and why does it matter? I always love when a legislator or a congressman or woman or anyone that is not in this space comes out of nowhere and they're like, ban cryptocurrency.
Yeah, we need to play it.
Did you do 9 years worth of research on cryptocurrency to decide whether or not it's bad or good for mankind? No, you didn't. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, we need to play the video. I mean, do you want to move on to that? Do you want to talk about that now? I can play the video here.
Yeah, please do.
I wonder if how quickly it takes for you to see in real time. So let me see. Let me play it. One second.
Let's see.
Tell me if it's playing or not.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right, so it says live.
Oh, there we go.
And
Okay, it's
oh
a
yeah,
couple of
I see it.
it's
I
a
see it.
couple of seconds behind.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got real estate, securities and investment, insurance, accountants, health professional. Oh wow, so that's all over the place. Oh, it's breaking it down into each one. So like retired, no pack. Okay, I see what you're coming at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm playing the video now, but we'll see how far along you are.
I would love to vote for a president that is not backed by any money.
Oh,
Just period. That'd be cool.
that's what people are working towards. Like Ocasio-Cortez and a couple of others are trying to become voted by, the public and not by big companies. Because essentially, I mean, the reason our government is failing is because it's very susceptible to 51% attacks. If you're familiar with Bitcoin, that's really what it is.
That is a good metaphor, my friend. Good metaphor.
That's all it really is, man. It's a 51% attack. And it's not that our government is not decentralized enough, unfortunately. So we fall prey to all sorts of shenanigans. And what this guy Representative Sherman called for was a ban for all cryptos. And if maybe it didn't sound too good in the video when we played it, but what was I saying here? Let's see.
Do you remember about 2.5 years ago when we were literally canvassing San Antonio and just going business to business and asking if they wanted to accept Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And we went to that one vape shop and that we got like basically kind of yelled out of there really quickly.
Yeah.
Like as soon as we said crypto, he was like, "Get out!
Yeah.
Get out of my store!"
Yeah.
And we were so like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" Because we weren't charging anything, we were just teaching, but. And so like we tried to ask him, have you been scammed or something? And like he wouldn't even answer us. He was so heated the moment we said Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This was about 3 years ago. And so like we don't know 100%, but I think we agreed that he must have gotten scammed or burned in some way. And so it makes me wonder like if anybody who's we should ban this, I bet they lost money.
It's
Like,
possible.
period.
It's possible.
He's probably a guy that bought it at 20K.
It's possible, but Alex, something really important that this guy says. If you listen to what this guy says, he gets it, because he says that cryptocurrency is a danger to the dollar, and a danger to the hegemony that is the power, the financial power that the U.S. possesses over the entire world. He's like, the dollar is the world reserve currency, and it allows the U.S. to essentially bully other countries. And I'm not about to apologize for the kind of messed up stuff that other countries have done. Obviously, there are certain things countries have done that merit sanctions against them, not just by the U.S. but by the entire United Nations. But the fact that one country has the ability to pin down other countries' economies, that's not healthy. That's not healthy, because effectively what it's saying is very few people are allowed to decide what happens all over the world. And it's not you and my bidding. We vote for certain people because we believe they have our best interests in mind. But there are so many degrees of separation between you and me and the people at the very top, who are these senators, our president, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All these people at the top, there is so many layers of disconnect between what we actually need to be, to be a decent society, and what these people are doing. It's so disconnected. So effectively, our money used to be gold, and now it's the dollar, because there is something. Okay, the dollar had to be created because the technology that we had at the time, in order to make money scale, and in order to have a money that would work across all of the borders, every state in the U.S., like all 50 states, we didn't have the tech for that. Trying to move money around like gold all over the country. I mean, that's why we have all these awesome like Western shows where like you have what's the name of it? Like there's all these shows where like bank robbers or like robbers like steal gold from trains. Because we had this antiquated system of moving money around through trains because it was so heavy. Like we had to use trains to move money around, which is gold, because it was so heavy. And horses and people weren't going to lug that around. So the dollar had to be made, right? So long story short, the dollar was the evolution of money, but now that's been perverted. Now there is too much of an incentive. Like there's no stopping the people that own the printing presses, which is the Federal Reserve, to print more dollars and destroy all of the wealth that you and I work so hard every day to accumulate and earn in a fair manner. So to wind this entire little story into that, I mean this Representative Sherman understands what is at stake should Bitcoin win. Should Bitcoin succeed, the dollar would effectively be irrelevant, and therefore the US's ability to do all sorts of nonsense that it's been doing recently. I mean, obviously, I'm talking about the violence, the tyrannical sort of weight that it carries around to hurt others. I mean, it's unacceptable. As an American, that's unacceptable. So,
Well, when I first heard about Venezuela 4 years ago and heard about how fast their currency was inflating, that was actually a really big wake up moment where, for the very first time as an American, I was like, oh my God, wait, that could be us. Our currency could fail as
yep.
well. And over the past 4 years, since feeling that for the first time, I've doubled down probably 87 times to where it's absolutely positive. It bothers me that most Americans don't believe that can happen to our dollar, based on what seems like nothing more than faith. So it's a really interesting thing where, as much as I'm a hardcore anti-dollar person currently, I would love personally to be able to switch back. And all that would have to happen is for the dollar value to increase.
Yep.
In 1 year. Just 1 year, instead of decreasing like 4.1% on average every year.
Yep.
And I've said it a million times. I'll say it again. Look at the soda, man. Watch the soda. Because the soda 10 years ago was 75 cents for a 20 ounce, and now it's $1.69. No, wait, $1.79. Hold up, $1.89. Wait a minute, $2.10.
Whoa.
Depends on, right? No, remember those 75-cent 20-ounce sodas? They don't exist
Nope.
anymore. And so that is the representation that I always use to, teach myself and try and teach others that the dollar loses value constantly.
Yep.
And you just don't see it. You just see it in what we have to buy.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to switch back to the dollar and not ever have to think about Bitcoin again. You just need to make the dollar deflationary. You need to make it go up in value year to year. I would love to hold $100,000 in my bank account and feel that would last me the next 40 years. That next year it would be worth $105,000, right? And not because of interest through a bank, but because the value goes up. Now, we have never seen that in our lifetime. I can't argue one way or the other whether that has ever happened because, well, to be honest with you, I've never actually done that research. I've just always known since we switched from gold to the pure dollar that it has been inflating. But it would be really interesting to see if there ever was just 1 year that it increased in value and see what happened to make that happen, if it even did happen. I'm just theorizing right now.
Yeah, and I guess I guess it just at this point the cat's out of the bag. I mean, they're not going to stop printing. There's that thing called quantitative easing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, like, best theoretical from yourself is, you don't have to go heavy into this. Simple question: why can't we stop as America? Why is it that we can't decide as a government, as a people, to turn off those printing presses and just have what we have?
That's a very good question. Damn. You put me you put me in a no, you stumped me because you're not allowing me to go too deep into it. But I can. I can, and maybe we can save this for a podcast in and of itself. But I'll keep it very short. There's this really good book called what is it? It's this something playbook, the Tyrant's Playbook, the something.
I think it is the Tyrant's.
Let me see.
You asked me to read that a while back.
Yep, because it's very important. The Dictator's Handbook. There we go. It's called the Dictator's Handbook, and basically, once you have any control of any government, and the U.S. it's no different. I mean, we elect people democratically, we elect leaders democratically, but regardless, once you are in the seat of power, once you are in the throne of swords, the Iron Throne, you essentially have the printing press in your basement. And what you do to become president, what you do to become elected by your constituents is you want to promise them stuff. So the baby boomers, I think, got one of the best deals ever of the most recent civilizations. The baby boomers had easy access to housing. They had a great early start in the stock market. They didn't have to go to college for insane loans that
Hmm.
millennials and all of us have to. And if you want to know why, it's because the government subsidized a lot of that for them. And how do you subsidize something when you don't have the money? You have to
You print.
print. Exactly. Printing money is what the people in power do to remain in power. If you have the ability to make more money out of thin air, you do it. And this is why I wouldn't trust myself with a printing press. I wouldn't trust you with as awesome as you are, as a kind-hearted person as you are. I wouldn't trust you with a printing press because we can't promise anybody, any human with a printing press. It's like that corrupting apple. I mean, that's literally what it is. It's the apple that corrupted Adam. That is the ability to print money, which is why Bitcoin, any money worth a damn, gold, Bitcoin, anything, it needs to be hard to obtain. It needs to be hard to make. That's why the book by Saifedean Ammous, The Bitcoin Standard, is such a good introduction into economics in general. Anything that is worth investing in creates value and is hard to replicate. And that's money in a nutshell. So,
Mm.
just to tie that little bow neatly, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, Alex. It's anyone that has the ability to make money will do so. There's no exceptions.
Mm. I wish it was one of those things where it was just so like the midterm elections, you vote for this and you vote for that, and then there was like a little thing like, do you want to stop the Fed?
You
Like, yeah.
can't.
I
We
know, I
can't.
know, I know, I know, I know. But I'd love to vote for it. I'd love it to be on the docket. I'd love a chance to try and make our I would just want to be proud of America instead of constantly like waiting for the chance to become an expat.
So here's where I try to meet in between and compromise.
Mm.
I've heard it enough, and I'm sure I've felt the same way. But there's so much to be proud of in our country, but none of that pride comes from my leaders. None of it, absolutely none. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they say. The people that I am most proud of in my country are my neighbors, are my brothers and sisters, the people that actually hustle every day, the people that actually bring value to our society. So, like, there's so much to be proud of in our country, but none of it comes from our elected officials. It's absurd. I wish that wasn't the case, but it doesn't come from them. And sure, there might be two or three stand up people in our communities that are elected officials, but the majority aren't. They aren't worth much. And
Mm.
it's why it's, I mean, whatever, I may sound revolutionary for saying it, but it's really not that special. I mean, voting, like, the reason why we've still continued to do this sort of democratic structure, this top down structure, is because we didn't have the technology to scale governance. This is why Bitcoin is such a huge accomplishment, because it's allowed us to create a money that is disconnected from any government, any counterparty, any central authority. No one has control of the money. It's completely agnostic. Russia could use it, China can use it. It doesn't matter who uses it. No country benefits from it. There is no oh, America's dollar is the world reserve currency, so now we benefit from it. There's none of that. It's completely agnostic. And I think that's the first step into creating a flat governance system. So, like, this whole voting for leaders, it's an old, antiquated way of governing ourselves, man. It's old. And the same way that the money systems that we've been using are old, and now Bitcoin has revolutionized them. I mean, or it's an evolution. I think it's going to unlock the door to an evolution of governance, and that's what these congressmen, Representative Sherman, is not understanding, or maybe he does understand it, and he's, I think, as he should be, because he's an older gentleman and he's stuck in his own ways, and maybe he's a bit power hungry, but he wants to stay in control. And
Yeah,
that's not,
yeah.
it's not it's not beneficial to the rest of us as much as it helps him. It's not very helpful for us. His
I really
consist.
think it would be wise if we could get all the baby boomers out of government. I think that should almost be like an enacted rule that you have to be under the age of, a certain, I don't want to pick, I'm not a rule maker, but once you're over the age of like retirement, 63, I don't think you should be making rules for young people anymore. It just doesn't fit the narrative of what's best for the whole. And not to go on to left side on this, but going back to the very first part of the podcast, talking about women's rights and women, it goes so deep, and I don't want to go deep. I just want to keep it simple. It was almost an awakening one day when I realized that when women were able to vote was in the early 70s, and here we are where we have people in Congress that were in their 30s when women were still second-class citizens.
Yeah.
And so here we have these old, and pardon me for saying it, I really don't like them, so it is a little disrespectful, but I do mean it. These old fucks are still writing rules, are still stopping new good rules, just so that they can still have their moment in the sun, so that they can try to stop progress. At least that's what it seems like to me. And I don't want to attack everyone. That's not my intention.
Yeah.
Going into it, I could make a list of at least like 30 people that I have looked up, researched, that I truly believe are maybe evil's too strong of a word, but greedy and selfish.
That's perfect.
And I don't
because that's really all it is. That's perfect though.
And greed and selfishness is the exact opposite in what you want in a politician. Or at least what you shouldn't want in a politician.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's what a lot of people want in a politician, is somebody that's greedy and selfish. But going back to the dictator's handbook, it really does seem like that greed and selfishness actually does make them more appealable to the, I don't want to say average, but to the general American, I guess. I don't feel like an average general American, so obviously I don't categorize myself into that group, but no, it does. It just I still every day wake up going, why are we following the rules of dead people? Why don't we audit our laws more often?
Yeah.
Why do we keep making new laws without destroying the bad ones first?
Yeah.
And so and then I'm 34. You're a little younger than me, but it really is a trip when you. The older you get, the more times you hear the same story, the same spin, where you're like, gun control? Really? Gun control? We're still talking about that? We've been talking about that for like ever since I was born and before that.
Yep.
How have we not come to a conclusion? How is that still something that we fight about? Just set it, forget it, come back to it in 30 years, because in all actuality, government should have a complete referendum every 20 or 30 years. As long as technology is advancing at the speed that it is, we really, really need to have people in leadership roles that understand that technology, that can look at it unbiasedly, that can have a lot more foresight. And I think that is something that has been evolved into us as human beings, this ability of foresight. I can't say that people in the 1800s didn't have any. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the average human being, it seems like we're bestowed with a lot more foresight than maybe we once had. And I think the internet has a lot to do with that, the ability to research history and research potential future. And it really does give you a broad sensation of what is possible and what isn't possible. So I just hate that leaders constantly attack evolving ideas because they're not the norm, or they're a little complicated, or they don't have time to study because they're 80 years old.
Yeah, you would think they have the experience by now, but that's just the thing, Alex. It's like you said, man. It's that greed, that selfishness. I mean, the trouble. So I agree with everything that you said. When you brought up the, having a younger leader in power, I think the problem is, as long as the system continues to work the way it does, so the system is corrupted. Like, the system is corrupt. So I think even if you're someone of sound mind, someone with the most altruistic sensibilities, ends up in a position of power, you're going to become corrupted. And that's because the system is broken. The system is corrupted. So
Yeah.
even if we had a young representative, even if we had a young leader elected, he has all of the instruments that are tainted and broken, like the printing press, and it's just going to be more of the same. So what I think needs to this flat democracy that I want, the best way I can put it is a direct democracy. Let me see if I can actually Wikipedia it. Hold on. Direct democracy. Direct democracy. Is it
To be
possible?
fair,
It's a
it actually goes back to the very first part of this podcast. My argument of I am an altruistic person. I do believe in myself that I would be good and just and right. However, I was scammed. And if a good person can be scammed by a bad person, then it really doesn't matter who you put in charge because the snakes will still come. And they
yep.
will bite and bite and bite until they get that one tooth in the good person. And then the good person can remain a good person, but they made a mistake. And that mistake can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
So that's why, going back to the fact that this is a Bitcoin cryptocurrency blockchain podcast, God, I'm ready for technology to change the way that we do business as government, as a rule maker, as a business person, and really make it a little bit more even for human beings
Look at
across the
this.
board.
Look at this, Alex. This
Go
is
for it.
what cryptocurrency has unlocked, I think. So like projects, concepts like uh Ricardian contracts, like our digital things like Ethereum, smart contracts. Look, in a representative, I'm reading from the Direct Democracy Wikipedia here. So you know that the concept is alive. It's a thing. We just haven't had the technology to do it, but now we do. And here's what it is. So here's the overview. In a representative democracy, people vote for representatives who then enact policy initiatives. So that's what we have right now, the broken system. We vote for
Hmm.
people. They're super disconnected from what we actually need and want, and they go do their own things, and it fucks everything up. Excuse my French. In a direct democracy, this is what we do want. This is what we are quickly unlocking with crypto. People decide on policies without any intermediary. Depending on the particular system in use, direct democracy might entail passing executive decisions, the use of sortition, making laws, directly electing or dismissing officials, and conducting trials. Two leading forms of direct democracy are participatory democracy and deliberative democracy. I don't know what those last two things are. I'll have to check them out. But the point is, this concept of the people deciding what our fate is so much more like it really takes us back into the past. I mean, when you used to live in a super small village, everyone had a seat at the table with the shaman, right? As long as he didn't rub him the wrong way or hit it or try to hit him with a stick once. Like, I'm pretty sure we all had a seat with the shaman and we all had our say. But as our societies grew bigger and larger and more unruly, you really had to do government the way we're doing it today. But now that we have the tech, the same way we've used the tech to make Bitcoin, I think we're at that point where we can make direct democracy possible. And obviously, the people in power aren't going to like that. They're not going to want that. But I think this is what we need. Like, this is the kind of change that is going to make everybody happier, and obviously make the world a better place. Not to use that stupid platitude, but it's it
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
has to be said because I mean, essentially that's what we're striving for every day. I would hope.
I always thought it'd be funny, and this is totally a joke, so do not quote me on this later. I always thought it'd be really funny if we took every state and truly made each one very very individual and unique. And like again, since we're printing money out of nothing, you give every single American enough money, since we can have an unlimited amount of it. Again, this is a joke. The ability to move to one of the 50 states of their choosing with the new set of laws, standards, morals, and ethics. And of course, there's going to be some extreme things like prostitution and drugs would be legal in one of these states, and of course, it would be completely illegal in another one, right? And so the beauty of this experiment would be over the course of years. I do believe that eventually, if you can imagine, let's use Texas and Louisiana as an example, right?
Hmm.
Because they're right next to each
Yeah.
other. Let's say Texas. I'm not going to say what works and what doesn't because I don't know. But let's say that Texas made some laws that actually utilized. Um, that actually benefited the people. Things got really good. Things started to get better. The state was generating lots of money. Homelessness was down. Everything's looking really good. Now you look at Louisiana, and they had chosen laws and regulations of their own, and that just didn't happen to work out nearly as well. So this would be the time that, you could look at the year 2100, and the 50 states would probably be like 10. Because maybe Texas does take over Louisiana because it was a failed experiment. Now, again, this is all a joke. And it'd be really great to see these 50 states, instead of all trying to do the same thing and failing miserably, really started to change, the way they do things. And really, at the end of this long, drawn-out, years-long experiment, you could finally start to see what works and what doesn't. One state could choose to use no technology. One state could choose to use all of it. Dumb little things like, let's just say Texas allows Backpage to do its thing again, right? Or and now they want to make it gets into dumb stuff too, right? Like I just heard on the news that they want to make loot crates illegal in video games, right?
Yeah, I'd heard
You're
about
playing
that.
Overwatch or
Yeah.
Dota or any of these online games. You level up, you get a crate, you open it. It's random stuff. You might get something worth $100. You might get something worth nothing.
Yep.
And they consider that gambling. But maybe that was a good thing, but we're going to cut it off before it ever gets to its full magnitude of how it can affect. So again, not to say that technology is bad or good. I'm just saying, depending on our leadership and how they vote, it changes everything else for us. And we will never know what cloning Alex will do, because for some reason our government, said, oh, look, we cloned a sheep. We're never going to do it again. That's done. Well, I got to tell you, I was a 12-year-old boy that was like, fuck that. Let's clone more sheep. If you can clone fucking sheep, then nobody has to fucking go hungry. Why did we stop this, right?
Yep.
And so you dig into it and you start to see some really fucked up shit. And really what it all boils down to is somebody voted against it. Now, I don't know that guy. He's not my friend. I disagree with him. I think we should absolutely be cloning more food. Why the hell not, right? So, but again, I could be wrong, and I admit that. I realize that. But my point is, I would love to see, instead of everybody trying to do the same thing, not so good, I would love to see some extreme measures taken to where we just try, and we see what happens. We follow that rabbit hole to the end. And maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it's really bad. But that's why we do it in small scales. Just to close ourselves off for something. Again, going back to this, he's a congressman, I take it, this individual. It's like, let's just ban cryptocurrency. You know what? Maybe he would be, let's say he wins. Cryptocurrency gets banned completely, and it actually does do that. Again, this is philosophical. Mm-hmm. Maybe he would be right, but maybe he would be wrong. But we will not know, because one human or 100 humans or a handful of humans out of the 7 billion or the 300 million in the United States, that's not a good vote.
No.
And it seems like we're going away from the majority. Even in our voting, even for voting for president, everybody talks about the how we vote. And
the delegates, the electoral college. Yep.
I see fights about this every day on Facebook. Still to this day, 2.5 years after the election, they still fight about it every day. And I in my head, I fight too. Not because I don't have a voice in this game, but I believe that the majority should win. That just makes sense to me. Like, if more people want something, well, you should go with the thing that more people want. And this can be so backwards too, because if all of a sudden people are like, murder should be legal, and 60% of people vote for it, I will be like, I will take back what I said. I'll be like, this was a horrible idea. We never should have done it this way. Oh yeah, that guy has a gun, right?
Yeah. I mean, so it's that is Sorry, go ahead.
Doesn't think about those evils. Like, I just think about how this could help and how this could benefit, and why can't we make another sheep, and that kid doesn't have to die today, so, but I don't think about the evil. I know a lot of people, that is what they focus on. They're like, how can I use this for my gain, and that's I consider that a disease. Nobody will say that evil or greed is a disease, but I truly believe it is.
It's a very tight it's a very thin line you have to walk, like, between doing what's in your best interest and not getting away with murder, so to speak. So like this guy, like this guy that scammed you. I mean, if he were to pay you back with interest, I mean, everything would be fine. Obviously, if I'm gonna ask for a loan, it's because I don't have the money, but I want to bring something to fruition, and I think I have the abilities to do so. I just don't have the money. So
Yeah.
loans are not immoral. Asking for stuff is not immoral. What's immoral is when you take advantage of people who trust you and then burn them and then run away with everything. I mean, there is nothing wrong with wanting in this life. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do more, better yourself and all, but there's a very fine line to walk. So it in the end, these I guess if we could try to wrap up the whole government representative system and everything that we have, it's not so much that there's people that want to get into positions of power. It's that the way that the system is set up makes it to where once someone is in power, it does a lot more harm than good for everybody. Which is why I think the direct democracy is the better way to go. Which is why Bitcoin is the better way to go about money. If you don't give anyone, if no one has control of the money, we're all better for it. Once you give someone any power over you, all bets are off. They have all the bargaining chips. You have nothing. This is why any relationship that you start with anybody, you want equal footing. Like you
Hmm.
never stick around with somebody who wants to always do things their way because then you're like, well then what's in it for me? You seem to have
Yeah.
all the power here. I get nothing in return. We're done. That's the kind of power that we all should have because we have it between our brothers and sisters, but we don't have it where our government is concerned. I'm not saying to do away with government. I'm saying to change the way we govern ourselves. And the majority would agree with me. And a very small minority, which are the people that have the power, would disagree. And I mean, over time, looking back through the annals of history, what is actually the case? The majority always win out. So I
Yeah.
just think technology has been doing some crazy stuff recently. We also, I mean, technology kind of got us to this point, like, pretty quickly. And by this point, I mean just like, for all of the faults our governmental system has, technology has been doing such a good job filling in the gaps to at least keep society, complacent, happy. So
Uh,
there's that.
I'll end it with this last thing, and it's kind of a realization for me. It's, I was talking about women's rights when they got the right to vote. You go back a little bit farther, blacks are second class citizens. You go back even farther, Irish are second class citizens. You go back even farther, and
Yep.
Jews. And so to me, it's so crazy how it's not 100%. There are still slaves. There are child slaves.
Yeah.
There are female slaves. There's still slaves, but I want to say 99% of America is not a slave. I mean, like it's probably 99 point something. It is very low. And for the very first time, we don't have slaves. And I would expect that when they gave women the right to vote, when they made black people true citizens, when slavery was abolished, that all of a sudden things would equal out. But I was so wrong because and it goes back to that power, right? Because the people in charge that want what they want know that even though they don't have control over a human being anymore, they found another way,
Yeah.
and it's been the same way that's been used for thousands of years. And it worries me too because it means that if the good people, if the and it's not about purity, it's not about good. If people do not stand up and fight for what they believe in now, things can get so much worse. They can retract, they can go back. It is absolutely 100% possible that we could choose a race or religion or sex and make them people and make them slaves again.
Yep.
That absolutely can happen unless we fight the good fight.
Yeah. It's true. And
And
I.
so it's funny. Last night there was a big event. Fox News held something at the big at this place downtown in San Antonio to talk about legalizing marijuana for Texas.
Cool.
I really wanted to go down there, especially after I had this talk where somebody goes, Alex, you are a middle-aged white man. You need to go down there and tell them that weed is okay. Because if you don't, like you actually still have a lot more power than you think you do. And I don't believe that, but people tell me that that's true, that, a white person, a white man still has a much greater chance at enacting change.
Yeah.
Now, I did not go down there last night. However, a few of the roommates and I, we sat up and we watched this thing happen live
Nice.
via Facebook. And what really bothered me was I really should have gone down there because it was a whole bunch of Hispanic um, San Antonians, no, in the
Yeah.
rafters, all talking about how marijuana has helped them, how pharmaceuticals are bad, how this is, da 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 da.
Yep.
It was nothing but praise for the
Yeah.
plant. The experts that they had on the panel,
Ooh.
and worse than that was the actual MC.
Ooh.
He kept dismissing them, and then he'd go to the physician panelist,
Yikes.
who, by the way, knew nothing about marijuana, knew nothing about
Of course.
child epilepsy, knew
Of
nothing about
course.
CBD. He was a fucking physician that is not in this game,
Nope.
right? So
Or
all he
is
did
he,
was
Alex? Or is he paid off, Alex?
exactly. So he would say things like, well, in my experience, for PTSD, marijuana can actually make it worse. And
Yikes.
I just screamed at the tiny little phone in my hand, fuck you, fuck you. But, I made a mistake. I needed to go there yesterday. I needed to stand up. I should have used my voice. And you know what? If I got kicked out of there for saying this is a, what do you call
A
it?
farce?
No, a kangaroo. This kangaroo. I should have. And like 5 minutes into it, I was like, oh my God, I would have been kicked out of there like 17
Probably.
times. And Andy, you know me, I really would have.
Probably.
Because that's how much it angered me that here is this, it's supposed to be an unbiased representation. Should marijuana be legalized in
Yeah.
Texas? And Fox News, and they just totally, it
It
wasn't
was
good.
yeah,
It didn't
it
go
was
well.
pandering to the people that think, yeah, weed is not good, weed should be illegal, but obviously we know who benefits from that. But you know what, Alex? I'm glad you're in this show with me today. I'm glad you're here with me. We're gonna this is gonna show up on YouTube, unlike last week's. I still have to sync up the audio with that, but this one worked, so we got it down, and I know how to do it now. I'll get better. I don't have my video on here. It's only been your handsome face. Mine unfortunately, I the camera is off as far as like the camera's not being noticed on Skype because it's being used through OBS, but OBS isn't using it. I'll fix it. But anyway, at any rate, like I think that these weekly podcasts, I mean, we talk about Bitcoin obviously all the time, but I think this back and forth, like we're real, a bit raw sometimes. We drop a couple of F bombs, a lot of F bombs. That's fine. Fuck it.
That's me. Sorry.
That's me too. Um,
Oh, and also I do want to say, only because it really is important. I go to way too many cryptocurrency conferences, and all I have is cryptocurrency shirts. So just because I have a Dash shirt on tonight does not mean I represent Dash or like Dash or invest in Dash. And every week there'll be a different shirt.
yep.
That does not mean that you need to go buy that coin. Please understand that.
Yeah, this is yeah, of course. This is not financial advice. I mean, this goes without saying. This
No,
is not
totally.
financial advice. We give no legal advice in this show. We do this because we're very passionate, as you can tell, about the topics we discuss. And I think we've been in the crypto game for about 5 or 6 years at this point, and always new lessons to be learned about crypto and life. And I think things are just getting started. I mean, I think the same way the baby boomers had the benefits of cheap housing, cheap college, and all of the benefits that they reaped. I think millennials have our opportunity with crypto. I'm not saying that crypto is going to be the end all be all, that it is going to change everything, but I think it's a damn good tool, and it really benefits everyone to understand it. To that end, I put this tab here. This is a Raspberry Bolt tutorial. I bought all of the parts that were recommended to do this. You can make
Hmm.
your very own Lightning node, and you make it on a Raspberry Pi, which is a very basic small computer, and it's super cheap to do. But not only do you make a node, it's a Lightning node. So that allows you to use the Lightning Network, which is the second layer built on top of Bitcoin, the same way that the internet is built not necessarily of just one layer, one base layer that makes up the internet. There's many layers that make up the internet, and Bitcoin just got its second, which is the Lightning Network. So you owe it to yourself. If you were gung ho enough when you first found out about Bitcoin to download a wallet or download 10 wallets like I did and play with all of them and move Bitcoin around everywhere and pay the expensive fees, if you do install a Raspberry Bolt, if you do make a Lightning node, you're essentially moving on to level two, where you're making transactions at point, like fractions of a penny. Like you're literally paying fractions of a penny to send massive amounts of money. in Bitcoin, of course. But this is a project that I've been sitting on. I bought all the parts before I took the bar this year, and I've yet to sit down and build this. I might do it next week because I'm gonna have a couple of days. I've got a presentation to do for business stuff. But anyway, yeah.
This makes me wonder if I can actually. So, you know what Kano computers are? They're like those little kids, little Raspberry Pi computers for
Mm.
kids, and it teaches kids how to actually build video games on a Raspberry Pi. It's pretty interesting. They're like $100, a little too expensive, but it has some actual software on it. But I want to know if I can actually create a Raspberry Bolt on the Kano computer, which truly is
Try.
just a Raspberry Pi. So
Yeah.
I pulled this up. I'm actually going to see if I can get it on the Kano computer slash a modded Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Try it. I mean, here it tells you everything that you need. I mean, if you have the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B or better, I guess like there's different.
I do.
Okay.
That is the
Then
one.
that's
Yeah.
all you need. I mean, then everything else that's on there, I mean, you just buy that and then you just kind of plug it in and you go with it.
I'll try this. Yeah, no. And for anybody that doesn't know, if you're sending Bitcoin and you have the ability to use the Lightning Network, you should. You can literally send Bitcoin for sometimes one Satoshi. It is really, really, really cheap and really, really fast.
I mean,
So,
it's insane. I mean, this wasn't here last year. Like this same day last year, this wasn't a thing. And now it's like there's a couple millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin running around in the Lightning Network. So like there's already money at stake. There's already what we love to call in economic circles skin in the game. So if there is no skin in the game, it's very hard to trust somebody's work as genuine. So like if I ask Alex for a $20,000 loan and I don't give him any collateral, Alex should be very reticent to say, "Yeah, I'll give you the loan." He's better off saying, "No, put skin in the game. Give me your Bitcoin. You'll have my cash." Why? Because I don't want the cash anyway. I want the Bitcoin. So between him and me. But anyway, yeah. So now the Lightning Network has skin in the game, and I think that's going to make it to where we find all of the bugs in it before it actually becomes very mainstream. So like if any hacker figures out a bug in it and it breaks and all those millions of dollars are gone, at least it's not even $1 billion, which Bitcoin is easily worth well over that as far as like the total market cap. But just a roundabout way of saying that we're testing the Lightning Network. So I'm excited.
and have been for a while.
I'm excited. Yep, and we have been for a while. So,
Wow, Bitcoin's for $6,422.
woo!
That went up.
Nice. It's been going up. I mean, the halving is what is it, a year from now or less than a year now?
Less.
When did we hit the last let me see. Let me do a quick little bit of research. Bitcoin 20K. When was that? When did we hit 20K?
May 20th, 2020, in a year and 10 days.
Okay, I hear 10 days. Wow. Okay. So then 4 years before that. So then 20. It's every 4 years, right? 2016 then was the last halving. So
Mm-hmm.
the last bull run happened about a year and a half after the halving, or was it a year? About a year after the halving, right? Is when
Correct.
the bull run really started to kick. We were like at 1,000 or 5,000 by then. It was getting up there, by that time, right? Let me see.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I have this data here. The price on halving day back in 2016 was $650. The price of 150 days later, about half a year, was $758. So it went up, but still not
Yeah.
too much.
Okay. So then it was
It
a
was,
year after.
it was really, about a year after, right around May of 2017 is really when it was like around 3,000 and started to pump and go to six,
Damn.
and that's when it started to shoot up.
Okay. So if we're gonna play around, if we're gonna do our little play what is it, hypothesis, no, there's a better word for it, but our little theory here is that okay, a year after this next halving is when things are going to get crazy. That's what I'm thinking, but we'll see. I mean, Bitcoin does what it does, and it's funny that everyone tries to claim what happened after the fact. People like after something happens they're like it happened because of this, but there's so many things, like there's too many variables to say it was reason A that this happened. But no, there were so many things that happened in this universe that like you can't just chalk it up to one thing. So we'll see.
Yeah, actually, next week I'd like to take maybe 10, 15 minutes to, and I want to do a share screen.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with people how I've well, all of my computers with a little mining software that's free. And I've been testing it for about a month, and it's completely safe. I do need to put that out there, and I'll say that again 100 times. But more than that, if you are interested in this space and you're kind of new and you're like, man, how am I supposed to get 1 Bitcoin? You don't need a Bitcoin. Just slowly accrue them. I want to show everybody how to turn your computer into a little bit of a mining software. I have a Microsoft Studio in front of me. It's got a mildly good graphics card, and it's making me about 40 cents worth of Bitcoin a day. In the past month, I've made about $14 worth of Bitcoin. But,
Nice.
again, you and I are huge believers that Bitcoin can easily go to some astronomically crazy number, and that $14 can easily become $28 when Bitcoin's at 12,000, and it can become, $100 when Bitcoin's at 50,000. So even though I'm making 40 cents a day today worth of Bitcoin, I'm making a little bit of Bitcoin every single day, and I will continue to make a little bit of Bitcoin every single day until one day when this computer dies. And then I'll get another one and keep making Bitcoin every single day. So don't limit yourself by not investing way too much money into an asset that is Bitcoin right now. Start off small. Start generating a little bit every day, and by the end of the year, you'll actually have, depending on the computer or computers that you set up, you could easily have maybe zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. And then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and the more Bitcoin you have, the more important it becomes to you. It truly does. I think, Andy, you'd agree with me.
Yeah, yeah. And one quick, I have to put this out there, but people are gonna do it, so we have to tell them not to. Please don't go install this into other computers that you don't own. Don't go to your school and put this on the school computers. If you're gonna do that, do it because you're gonna give it as charity to the school, not so that you could take it for yourself. Because this is a common, actually a common virus that hackers put into people's PCs. So people will notice their PC running really slow, and it's because they have a miner running in the background that's giving money not to them but to the hackers.
Pirate Bay.
Yep,
Pirate Bay.
Pirate Bay did it, but I know that people have been caught, like IT, like in-house IT from schools have been caught installing miners and then making money for themselves at the school's expense. So, you know.
And so the sad part about that is they got greedy. If
Yep.
they had just lowered the CPU from like 100 to probably like 10%, it never would have slowed down, and they never would have saw
Possible.
it.
Possible.
Greed.
Yeah, they failed at their IT. Like, they failed at that. But we've been at it for about almost an hour and a half, Alex. What
Awesome.
do you want to? I guess we'll just touch on the things that I wanted to talk about last time, or this time next week. I wanted to talk about the Binance stuff and Andreas Antonopoulos' response. So we can talk about it next week. It'll be fine.
Okay. Okay. Maybe we can do it tomorrow. I'm free.
Or tomorrow. I'm going to be very busy these next few days. But next week.
Oh,
Yeah, probably next week.
sounds good.
All right, Alex. Well, thanks for your time, as always. Andy and Alex signing out. Be Libre Weekly, number 2.
Have a good rest of your night.
And a great
Bye.
weekend. Goodbye.